AITA for leaving when my BIL wouldn't let me in the hot tub. My BIL just bought a new house. He lives about 4 hours from us. Last weekend my husband and I went to visit him for a few days and see the house for the first time. Long story short, I got my period while I was sleeping and the guest room sheets had a small bloodstain, about the size of a quarter. My husband helped me strip the bed and I went down to the laundry room to pre-treat and then wash the sheets. When they were done, the bloodstain was 100% gone, but when we told BIL, he looked completely disgusted. He inspected the sheets super closely for a very long time, and finally I was like, Jesus, BIL, if you're looking that closely and can't find a stain, can't you trust me that I got it out? He seemed really put out by the whole thing. That night, we had plans to hang out in BIL's hot tub in the backyard, but after dinner, he told me that I wasn't allowed in the hot tub because of my period. I was shocked and explained that the nighttime leak was because I hadn't been expecting my period and had been fast asleep all night, but that it was perfectly safe and sanitary for me to put in a tampon and sit in the hot tub for an hour. But he wouldn't budge. My husband had my back and told him that he was being ridiculous, and it ended up turning into a big argument. Eventually my husband and I decided to pack our stuff and stay at a nearby hotel, and then we drove home the next morning. Now BIL is pissed at us for leaving and for not respecting his home. He also Venmo requested my husband $100 for new sheets, which he is refusing to pay, but trust that if the stain hadn't come out, we would have been happy to replace them. He told his whole side of the family, who've decided to fully stay out of it, I wish they had our backs more, but at least they're not piling onto us. So are husband and I for leaving and not paying for the sheets? Edit. I swore I'd never be one of those people who did this, but to all the people who say esh or YTA because a certain risk that I won't mention here, BC, this isn't a medical sub, I'll just say that if BIL was worried about that risk for me, it would be a different story. He didn't want me in the hot tub because period blood is gross. Edit number 2. For everyone asking why I even told him, it's because my period isn't a dirty little secret, it's a natural thing that happens to half of the adult population. And because I'm not going to sneak around like a cat burglar to do laundry. He heard the dryer buzz and asked about it, and I told him. Edit number 3. Some more FAQs. BIL has a GF who doesn't live with him. She hung out with us the first night. That was the first time I'd met her, but had to work the night of the argument so she wasn't around. IDK what she thinks of the whole situation, and I'm not going to reach out about it. And BIL isn't on the spectrum, he doesn't have OCD, and he's not a germaphobe. He just thinks it's gross. Edit number 4. Wow, this really blew up. Anyway, asterisk, please trust that I know my body asterisk and my flow and that on the first full day of my period I know that I can wear a tampon for a while without leaking. For what it's worth, we did go to the hotel hot tub after we checked on, and I stayed in for 90 minutes, and when I got out there was nary a speck of evil dirty vagina blood on my bathing suit.
NTA. The BIL is such a horrific misogynist. I'm only a trans woman, so I can't claim to understand fully what it's like to be on your period, but what I do know is that it is out of your control. And the stuff that was in your control, like cleaning up, was done correctly. If you left it stained, I can understand him getting angry, but you cleaned up, and honestly I think if you had it in the hot tub, it would have been much easier to clean. When will people learn that periods are a natural occurrence and stop demonizing people for having them? FYI, kudos to your husband for sticking up for you. Usually the complaints come from the husband, so it's a nice change of pace. Closing parenthesis. Edit. Loving all the gender affirmation in the replies. That's very sweet of you all. Smiling face with hearts.
NTA. I also wouldn't go back or invite him into your home. I'd say he needs to grow up, but my 6-year-old has a better understanding of this situation than BIL does.
NTA. I suppose there's arguments to be made about the sheets if the strain hadn't come out. But this definitely feels more like an EW, women are gross. Stop being gross, sort of tantrum.
Info. BIL is single, yes?
NTA, but your BIL is a major You took care of the unexpected problem, but obviously it wasn't good enough for him. Good grief, does he not understand basic human physiology?
They're a legit $100 sheets. They're better than $40 sheets. Whether they're $60 better has a lot to do with how much financial padding you've got. but noticeably more comfortable, is a description I'd use.
Yes, when I have people stay in my home, I expect that as human people, these kinds of things, everyday accidents, might happen. If Op was doing ritual sacrifice on the sheets, sure, she would be obligated to replace them. She is definitely not obligated to replace a sheet when she went through the effort to ensure there was no stain, and she would not really be that obligated to replace the sheet even if there was still a stain.
I'm a poor person, which is why I laughed.
And probably staying single, rolling on the floor laughing.
Honestly, even if it did get stained, it's still an accident. If I cut my finger and bled on a couch cushion, I'd try to clean it up, but I'd be pretty if my host was angry about it. I'm a person, I bleed, we all do. Menstrual blood isn't somehow transmuted into sin via proximity to the...
I'm totally uniformed on how tampons work, but I still agree that Op is NTA.
NTA, we all bleed. Menstrual blood isn't somehow poisonous or transmuted into sin via the... If you cut your finger and bled on the sheets, or his couch, or the carpet, can you imagine anyone being super and insisting said thing be replaced? That's ridiculous. And misogyny. Also, there's no more bacteria present on the than there is on the average menstruating or not. And I bet he's the type to not scrub his own because that's... Dudes that act like this about periods would be horrified to realize that they've been slathered in bacteria since birth, and it's part of their own natural biome forever. Enjoy.
NTA, if he has every right to change the planned activities, you get to have every right to change your plans. Also, everyone says TSS is some huge risk in a hot tub, not realizing 1 in 100,000 is very rare, and that changing the regularly is how you avoid it. Super simple. You just go change it.
NTA, your bill is seriously uneducated when it comes to women's periods. I wouldn't pay for the sheets either. You didn't stain them and they're clean. I'm honestly so baffled by the amount of uneducated comments in this thread. People need to do some reading on periods and TSS before spouting nonsense. Clearly the education system and ed classes aren't doing a good enough job if this many people don't know anything factual about periods. Like, wow.
I'm poor too, but when I worked in a department store I waited for sales and then used my staff discount to get the good sheets. The difference between them and the cheap cotton sheets was astounding. I had them for years and years, they last better. I spend a lot of time in bed, so it was 100% worth it for disabled, so I actually made myself silk sheets a couple of years ago. Cannot recommend highly enough ETA. Wow, I didn't think this comment would get so much attention, thank you all. I'm getting a lot of questions, so I've put a couple of links here to try and answer some of them recommendations. Lads, I'm sorry, but I live in Ireland, so I can't really recommend specific cotton sheets. Mine were Marks and Spencer autograph sheets. In the years since, they seem to have drastically cut back the whole autograph range. Sadly, other people have mentioned the ones they like in the replies to this comment though. I'm seeing names like Bean, Bowl and Branch. More generally, a couple of tips on what to look for in quality cotton sheets. Some people have expressed interest in how I made my poor man's silk. You're really not into the idea of sewing your own, and you have the money. I seriously recommend buying one fitted silk sheet from someone like Lily Silk, just to experience the joy of silk for yourself. You'll notice that 19 mom silk sheets are cheaper than 22 mom. The heavier weight 22 mom silk will last longer. Are they hard to care for? No, they're machine washable. I wash them on a woolen cycle at 30 degrees Celsius, 900 revolutions per minute. I use Woolite brand detergent, which is made for wool and silk. Normal detergents are too harsh. Never use fabric conditioner on silk. I hang them to dry. We don't use the tumble dryer for anything except towels. So the only difference between the sheets and the rest of my laundry is that the detergent is a bit more expensive than the bargain basement cheap stuff I buy in Lidl. I hope this helps. Everyone deserves good sleep in a comfortable bed. Heartsuit.
Oh wow, I've literally never used sheets other than budget ones. I guess I'll have to save up and try this luxury lol.
Neighbor, you're not only anything. Smiling face with hearts.
What a perfect insult for the bill.
It's the $100 shoe conundrum.
JFC, there's some absolute gibberish going on in these comments. The absolute lack of a functioning knowledge of the menstrual cycle, but sigh. Who's surprised? Face with rolling eyes, you're NTA. Of course you're NTA. Everyone with 2 brain cells knows you're NTA. This bill is in. Infant who needs a stern talking to from his mother, she can buy him a biology book and you can whack him with it.
Yes, but you also didn't spout off ridiculous facts about use. I'm still shaking my head at some of the responses I've read. Lol.
Bill doesn't even need to replace the sheets. They're spotless.
Only, a trans woman. You're a woman who just happens to not have experienced periods, nothing, only, about it.
Chiming in to say my dad used to work in an upscale-ish store that sold fancy house deco, linens, etc. He got me $100 sheets and towels on sale with his employees' discount. That was 7 years ago. I would lie if I said they still looked brand new, but they are still amazing, considering. Just keep an eye out for sales whenever there's a season change. Sometimes they are sold the same price as cheap ones during end-of-season sales. It's an investment because they last longer, and are way more comfortable.
The Samuel Vimes, Boots, theory of socioeconomic unfairness.
That is a good point. Can I ask for opinion on a matter with a friend? She was constantly changing diapers on her baby on the couch when I asked her to do it somewhere else, like the table. I provided towels and blankets. She don't even put a blanket and a towel under the baby while changing the diapers. Then it happened and the baby peed on the couch. I didn't scream, but I got really mad because she is always like that. I asked her not to walk with shoes into my home I cleaned for her and the children for 2 days. Still she walked with dirty shoes in there and the muddy stroller. The baby wouldn't sleep without it. My point was to clean the tires, not to not bring the stroller into my home. She said something similar. Accident happened and the baby would have peed onto the couch even with a blanket, towel. The week with her was emotionally extremely exhausting. I'm still not sure I will let her in a second. Kids were not the problem, by the way.
NTA. It's his house, his rules. This isn't, am I legally within my right? It's, am I the OP's bill is in. He is treating OP like patient zero for literally no reason. Banned her from using a hot tub because ew blood icky tampons, and then got mad when OP and her husband left, and is now demanding a ridiculous sum of money for sheets that are not damaged. OP's bill was never once concerned about TSS, so stop bringing up the rarest condition you can get from tampons and some sort of excuse for his behavior. He's a misogynist, plain, and don't get to dictate, my house my rules, and then get mad when people make the decision to leave your house so they no longer have to abide by your. I think a lot of y'all missed that last paragraph before the update somehow. The question is if OP is an for leaving BIL's house and not paying for sheets that aren't. Can't have it both ways. Bill can't hold people hostage over his misogynistic. They're adult human beings, not animals that can be caged.